Jumbo Year 2. Now we're going to start off today with doing some handwriting practice because I've been looking at the work that some of you have been sending in and some of the children at school have been doing, and there's still a few letters that people are still finding it tricky forming them correctly, and if you're not starting and finishing in the right place, it's impossible to join them up. So although some of them are really neat, when I look closely I can see that they definitely didn't start or finish where they should have done. So we'll start off with A, which is a curly caterpillar letter, and that means it starts with a curly K. So you do a K first. Make sure I've got a pen. So you go all the way around, top to bottom, and then flick. Start at the top, so there's a curly K. Up to the top, down and flick. All the way around, top to bottom, down and flick. So you could practice those on a whiteboard, but after you've done that, have a go at doing a line of them in your book. And once you can do an A, it's very easy to do a correct D, because it starts again with a curly caterpillar, a curly K. So there's your K, and then you go right up high. Oh, mine's a bit wibbly, right down low. Start with a K, go right up high, right down low, and then a little flick. Start with a K, right up high, right down low, and flick. So the only real difference between the D and the A is that the stick of the D goes up really high to the top line, and that's why I'm using these three lines. It's like the grass is where all the middle letters go, then the sky is for the ascenders, they ascend all the way up to the sky, and the descenders, the letters with tails, descend down to the earth. So now I want a nice neat row. Do another ascender now. We're going to do a B. Now lots of people are still doing big bad B's. In fact, some people so don't like doing a B that they just do a capital all the time, even when it's in the middle of letters. Now first of all I'm going to show you the wrong way of doing it, because this is the one that I'm seeing a lot of. So people are starting in the right place. They're starting at the top, they're going all the way down to the bottom, which is what you should do, and then they're going under and round, which is actually a number 6. That is a number 6, not a B. I'm going to rub that one out. Now there's a way of remembering how to do a B. You start at the top, go down to the line, and then it's over and under. So top to bottom, over, then under. If you remember the up and over, that really helps. So top to bottom, up and over. Can I fit in another one at the front? Top to bottom, up and over. Because if you're going under, you're going to end up with a number 6 again, which is not what we want. So have a practice doing some B's. And next we come to naughty N. Now a naughty N is where it just sort of looks like a bump in the road. It starts there and does that. That is not a N. So that is the naughty N. We're not going to be doing that one. To do a correct N, you start at the top, not the bottom. So you have to go down, up, over and flick. Start at the top, down, up, over and flick, down, up, over and flick. So after you've practiced the ends, then it's very similar to do an M, because we also get a lot of naughty Ms where people are just doing that, which does not start at the top. And it's quite easy to tell when people get those ones wrong, because there's like a little stick. So this is a correct M. Start at the top, down, over, over, flick, down, over, over, flick, down, over, over, flick. And it's that little stick bit there which tells me whether you've done it correctly or not. Now the last problem we're going to talk about is the descenders, and that's the letters that descend underground down to that bottom brown line. So a letter like P doesn't stand on the writing line. This line here is the writing line, and so P does not stand on that line. You start at the top, you go down right under the line and then round. So it shouldn't be standing on that black line. So you start at the top, down and around. And the same with any letters that have got a tail. So if you're doing a G, you go round and then give it a tail. Let's do a Y as well. And then give it a tail. So all of those are called descenders. They sit on the line and their tails should be under the line. So I want you to have a go at doing some P's, G's and Y's with the tail of the letter going under the line. So here's an example of a P and a G in the wrong place. So that word says pig, and it looks, actually even looks, doesn't it, really sort of babyish, and if it's not, as if it's not written correctly. So what that really needs to look like is like this, because then the letters are in the correct place. So unless it's a capital, if it's capital P, you can move it up there, but if it's a little p, it should always be down there. So maybe now practice writing that word using the line. So remember, this black line in the picture is the line that you have in your book. Your final challenge this week is to tell the story of Miss Annalie's surprise. So you're going to be telling the whole story from the beginning to the middle and to the end. And we'll talk about the end in a minute because we haven't actually got to the surprise yet. The surprise hasn't happened. Now you know the beginning of the story because I've read that bit to you. Early one chilly autumn morning, Miss Annalie set off for school with lots of delicious fruits to share with the children in year 2. And remember, I also said that it was very important it had to be autumn. It doesn't have to be chilly, it could be windy, it could be sunny, but it does have to be autumn, and you'll find out why in a minute. So after you've started the story, and I've got Miss Annalie put some delicious fruits in her trolley. You do not have to do 7, that would be crazy and it would take a long time. I think about 3 is probably enough. So you just need to choose 3 animals and 3 fruits. So you could have the fox taking the cherries, you could have a squirrel, because they like blackberries, taking the blackberries, and then you could have a hedgehog maybe taking an apple. So you just need to choose 3 to tell the story. Now here's another example. Here we've got the badger. I think yesterday I showed you the squirrel one. So this time we've got a badger. A huge badger greedily licked his lips and ambled slowly behind the trolley. He carefully picked out the juicy strawberries and happily gobbled them up. There's a few adverbs in there, aren't there? We've got greedily, we've got carefully, and we've got happily. So remember, you're going to try and make sure that you include adjectives. So we've got a huge, and we've got a juicy. That you include some interesting verbs. So we've got licked, we've got ambled, and we've got picked, we've got gobbled. I've just spotted another adverb. There's one there, it says slowly, 4 adverbs. So you're going to try and make it more interesting. So instead of just having 7 animals and 7 fruits where he took, he went, he took, he went, just choose 3 and try and make the sentences more interesting. Now, this picture is a clue for how we're going to end the story. Because remember, we're keeping the plot the same. There has to be a surprise. So the things are taken out of the trolley, but that also means that something needs to replace it. Just like in the story where the tangerines fell into the basket. Now, one of the clues in this picture, hopefully you recognise where this is this here. Now that belongs to Mr. Wingham. You might have seen him riding it sometimes. So that's often how Mr. Wingham comes to school. It's like a type of motorbike called a moped. So this was my idea for the ending. There's something just out of the picture here. There's something growing just in front of the school entrance. Wonder if you can remember what that is. Finally, Miss Annalie reached the school gates. Just at that moment, Mr. Wingham arrived on his moped. As he turned into the car park, he bashed into the large tree next to the entrance. Hundreds of spiky conkers rained down into Miss Annalie's trolley. Later that morning, Miss Annalie opened her trolley to show Class 2 the fruits. "Conkers!" yelled Class 2. "Our favourite things!" "Conkers!" exclaimed Miss Annalie. "That is a surprise." So that is how the story is going to finish. I wonder if you remember from year 1, Martin, the conker tree, stands right at the entrance to the school. Now, I don't think Mr. Wingham has really crashed into it before, but it could happen. Remember, it's a bit like a fairy tale. This is a simple story map showing the story. So it starts with the fruits going in the trolley and Miss Annalise setting off for school. And then we have the animals taking the fruits out. Then we have arriving at school and the conkers falling into the trolley. And finally, the class get to see them. So that is the story you are going to have a go at telling. And you can change bits. You don't have to copy anything that I've done. It's up to you how you tell it. And it doesn't have to be me coming up the hill. It could be you carrying a bag of things to share with the class. So either you can stick to the one as I've told it and just choose 3 animals and 3 fruits, or you can change it a bit. So it doesn't have to be really long. It's probably just a page if your writing's neat. But it'd be really good if you had a go at telling the whole story. The TLP for this task is, can I innovate a familiar story? So innovate is like an innovation. It's a change to a story you know. So the story is Hand of Surprise, and the innovations, the changes, are going to be a different setting, different characters and different elements to the story, but keeping the same plot. So the success criteria, the green level, is can I remember the beginning, the middle and the end to make it a proper story. The amber level is, can I make my sentences interesting? And I think we know a lot about how to do that now. And the red level is, can I check, this is the challenge, my own work carefully for mistakes? Now, when we do this in school, we use this checklist. So when you've finished, you use this to see which bits you've remembered. So first of all, does it make sense? So you need to read it. Maybe even read it out loud after each sentence to check it works and that you haven't repeated a word or haven't made a silly mistake. Full stops, hopefully everyone's going to include some of those. Capital letters, especially for names, like my name, or if you choose another person's name. Handwriting, is it as neat as it can be, or is it a bit of a messy day? And super adjectives, so we've got juicy, sneaky, cheeky, sly, delicious. And remember, you can put commas in between them if you use more than one adjective. And then we've got the adverbs, quickly, slowly, carefully, happily. And openers, which really are just adverbs, but they're good ways to start sentences. So suddenly, next, after that, just then, eventually. And that stops you starting all your sentences with the, or it stops you just writing a whole page with no sentences that just keeps going and then, and then, and then, and then. So remember, those are there for you to use. And we've got the interesting verbs that we're getting very good at. We've got scampered, trotted, that's a new one. We've got raced, grabbed, snatched, and seized. So when you check it, you certainly don't need all of these words. Just one adjective and one adverb is enough to give you a tick in the box. And if you haven't done any, you can go back and think, oh, I just wrote squirrel. Maybe I can just sneak and do a little arrow and write cheeky squirrel, and then you can tick it in the box. So write that in your blue book. And remember, these blue books, we want them brought back in when we come back to school, because then me and Mrs. Lewis are really going to enjoy looking at the work that you've had a go at whilst you're at home. So good luck with that, and it would be interesting to see if anyone manages to get right to the end, because that is a real challenge.